Hi guys, Jane here, and today I am reviewing Inventing Scrooge. And before I get started, I just want to point out how pretty this book is. Obviously the cover is very Christmassy, but I did want to show you inside too. There are beautiful, beautiful drawings in the front and the back that are in color. Throughout the book, there's also illustrations. They're a little bit smaller like this one, but this is just a really nice, beautiful book, a lot of fun to read for the aesthetics of it. This book looks at how Dickens probably came up with the elements of A Christmas Carol, and it looks a lot into his life and the biography of Dickens as a writer. I read this right after reading The Afterlife of Holly Chase, which is a Christmas story retelling, and I felt like they went really well together because in The Afterlife of Holly Chase, there's a lot of focus on the different characters in the book and like how they're important to the Christmas story. And with this, you have each chapter, especially the later chapters, being like how he likely came up with the different characters. This is the Fezziwig chapter, and so it's divided into characters and settings and kind of different elements of the story. So when I started the book, I struggled a little bit because there's a lot of quotes in this, and it was really kind of dry and dense for the first couple chapters, and I almost DNF'd it. But then once I got past that, I really had a good time with this book. It was overall a 4 out of 5 for me. Some of the things that I loved about it, besides the individual, like showing the characters and how Dickens probably found them, was just learning more about Charles Dickens. He had such a difficult upbringing and an interesting life, and it is amazing to me how much that influenced his writing. I'd recently watched a video on the death of the author and basically like how much we should care about the author's life as we read their works. And it kind of argued that we shouldn't, and that the author's life has very little to do with their works. But I beg to differ for this. I think Dickens really brought a lot of himself out in this book, and you can really see that. Dickens, for anybody who's not really familiar with his biography, his father ended up in debtor's prison, and he had, in the earliest part of his life, like they were kind of middle class, but then quickly his father started making bad choices, and they ended up in destitute poverty. And Dickens really worried about that. And he saw a lot of, I think, the characters in the Scrooge story, including people who, were really wealthy and unwilling to help the poor. He also saw a lot of people who were poor even though they were working, they were trying, they were making the best decisions they knew how, but life happened. I think he felt really passionate about the poor having rights, and he was an advocate for education of the poor and also entertainment of the poor. And I think those are huge things that affected this book, and part of the reason this book is so popular. This book can be read by the poor and the rich alike. Like, the poor see themselves in the Bob Cratchits of the world and wish that there was more help, and also look at focusing on the good things, family and things that money cannot buy. On the other hand, it's also a good reminder for those who are more upper class and have more to help the poor, especially around Christmas time when that's kind of the season of it. But it just was such a good read, just right to my heart. And I love A Christmas Carol. So if you enjoy A Christmas Carol, you enjoy a lot of autobiographical information about an author, I absolutely recommend. It was well worth the read, and I genuinely enjoyed it. And like I said, it's so pretty. And just beautiful, beautiful drawings and pictures. Oh, there was a good one back here. There's a picture of Dickens and the boyhood home he lived at, if you can see. Oh, just beautiful. So if you love Dickens, check it out. And I do recommend, by the way, The Afterlife of Holly Chase if you like A Christmas Carol. It's not for everybody. It's definitely more for the YA crowd, but I enjoyed it. And I generally enjoy Christmas Carol retelling, so it was right up my alley. Worth the read, absolutely. Just try to get through the first couple chapters because it was a little rough. Alright guys, my social media is below. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.